Welcome to the TikTok influencers you really should know about, the podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable individuals on TikTok who are making a genuine impact beyond just their good looks and celebrity status. From advocates for social justice to comedians who brighten our days, this podcast celebrates the diverse talents that make TikTok a vibrant community. Tune in to discover the influencers you may not have heard of yet, but you definitely should know about. Welcome, everyone, to the TikTok influencers you really should know about. The podcast that's dedicated to showcasing the remarkable individuals on TikTok who are making a genuine impact beyond just their good looks or celebrity status. And I am so happy to welcome my guest today. Oh, and for those that don't know, I'm Christine Blosdale. I am a business success and media coach, and I help people to create TikToks and reels and all that stuff, but also podcasts and YouTube channels. And so this has been a dream of mine, really, to have this show launched, to have this podcast finally air. And one of my very first guests in this series is someone who I think that you definitely should know about. Lisa Kirkman, also known as the creator of the Big Gay Overalls podcast. You get A++ just for the name alone, Lisa. But welcome to the show. And like I said, I've just been so impressed with your TikTok channel. I had to have you on the show.
Thank you. And it's so awesome to be here. And everyone who connects with me tells me how much they love the name and the logo, and you know that it's like that's what captures them. So I think, oh, I got something right.
And so tell us about the name. Tell us about, because obviously you have a podcast called the Big Gay Overalls podcast, but how did you come up with that? Is this something that you wear quite often, is the overalls?
No, but that is a running joke with a business coach I work with. When my wife and I moved to a rural location, he'd joke about, being gay farmers and did you wear your gay overalls while you're doing the thing, and just, giving me, a loving hard time. And then when I was thinking about starting the podcast, because he said, you need to tell your story, like someone out there needs it. And then I thought, what better name than Big Gay Overalls? And then when I dug into it, I'm like, overalls kind of can cover things up, which is what we did. But also when you've got to get to work and when you're coming out late in life, there's some work to be done. So I figured it was perfect. And then
that's deep, Lisa.
I know, which started out as a joke, but he's taking full credit for the name now, which is great.
So when you become a syndicated superstar, he's going to start asking for money, right?
Yeah, he'll get his percentage for sure.
Let's talk about the wild and wacky and wonderful world of TikTok.
Yeah.
Have you been a TikToker for long and then decided to create your own channel, or did you just come up guns a-blazing and just came into TikTok land and started your own show?
I think I've sort of dabbled in TikTok, not as a creator, but as in a viewer, and just I never really understood it. And to be honest, still don't 100% understand it. But I was, people were like, you should be on it, you should be off it. I was like, oh, I don't know. And I've started a couple of channels for other side businesses that I've had, like videography and business coaching and stuff. But this one I really have been more invested in time-wise and intentionally with content for growing the Big Gay Overalls platform, because as I've figured out from what I was watching, this is where a lot of the people who have been on a similar journey to me hang out. They're on TikTok.
Absolutely. I love that platform. Yeah. It's, for the longest time, I was refusing. I'm not going on TikTok. That's just a bunch of teenagers dancing in their bedrooms.
Yeah. And
then I went in, and the algorithm is such that what do you wish upon? What would you like? What right? And if you do, you're right. If you stick on that video for more than 2 seconds, you're going to get a lot more of that content. And it's brilliant. And I love that, because also that means that the content that I put out is going to attract my tribe, right? And you'll get your haters once in a while. You get your freaks, but go away before a house falls on you. The majority of your tribe will find you. And so that's what, are you finding that as well?
Yeah, I've found that, and I've done a couple of tiny little boost posts for $5 a day for 5 days or whatever, just a little bit. And, to see a spike in followers. And as I said to you before we started, I'm not really interested in how many followers I get. It's more about the authenticity of the story. And, I'm not creating something going, oh, people are like this, it'll go viral. But it's about having fun with it. But I have noticed that like people are just naturally drawn to the authenticity, and they're finding it. And the algorithm's like, you've watched this person, you're probably going to like this, and it just feeds it,
Yes.
through to them.
Let's jump into that authenticity.
Mm.
So the overall arching theme that I'm getting from the content, and we'll play one of your TikToks. We'll play one of your TikTok videos in just a second so people can get a flavor. But coming out late in life, right? This is something that more and more women are experiencing as the man versus the bear scenario becomes more prevalent. But talk about that. When did you come out, and how was that experience?
So I came out officially came out in early 2021. And that's when I sort of left my husband. We'd been married for about 17 years. And I was like, I need to just start living my authentic life. Like, it was just too much. And I'd had my first relationship with a woman about, maybe 10 years before that. And that was my catalyst. And then I was like, oh, all these things in my life now make sense that I'd pushed to the side since I was a child. And I'd done a lot of work in therapy and unpacked some things. And I'm like, yeah, this is 100% who I am. And it was terrifying because I've like built this life. I've got these,
community.
People know me as one way. I was a gym owner, so I had a business, and people knew me as this version that they'd known for 46 and a half years. And I'm like, who am I to disrupt their lives?
Oh,
he's done nothing wrong. Like, we're just tootling through life. Like, he's done nothing wrong. And then this is not what he had on his bingo card for 2020. So I really struggled with previous life. Lisa never put herself first. I did what was expected. I ticked the boxes. I did the things and, didn't cause an issue. And here I was going to flip everyone's life upside down. And that was a lot of fear and a lot of like stress around doing that. But eventually I was just felt compelled that I cannot continue to live the way that I have been. I have to take this next step. So I did.
It's like wearing shoes that are too tight.
Yes. I read that in somewhere once, that same sort of analogy. And it was like, yes. And I remember reading, and what lesbian hasn't read, Untamed by Glennon Doyle, but, that story where she realized, like, when she first met Abby and those feelings, I'm like, oh, right. And she showed that you can navigate this sort of change of life and not have it turn into a massive, shit show of drama and anger and everything. Like, my ex-husband and I are still best friends, and
that's beautiful.
We still communicate all the time, and I help him out and he helps me out, and people are like, that's weird. And I'm like, no, just because you're not with somebody doesn't mean it has to end in flames. Just be good humans.
Yeah.
And I was seeing a lot of posts in various groups where people struggle with this. Am I gay? Am I not? Like, how can I come out? How can I tell my kids? How can I leave? Like, is everything going to be okay? And there's all those things. So we need more voices in the space about it's going to be okay. And that when you get to the other side and experience that freedom, you're like, the messy middle and the uncertainty is so worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll throw out my age there. I'm turning 60 this week. And
nice.
When I was a kid, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, there were no gay icons. There was nobody that was out.
No.
Because it was a terrifying space to be. Yep. And that one girl in our school who was rumored to be the D word, right? Oh, and it wasn't said with compassion and loveliness. No. It was
they're derogatory terms.
It was derogatory, exactly. Yep. And so I was like, whatever she is, I don't want to be, because I don't want to get thrown out of the clan, the tribe, right? And I don't want to have people hate me. So I played along, I said, I guess I need to have a boyfriend, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And I myself didn't I didn't realize until like a certain point in my life where I just could not keep going that way in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. And it was probably in my early to mid 20s. But at that time, again, it
Still
was
not.
a very scary thing. And the people that you love and that have always loved you, and they've always said how precious and wonderful you are, you're so afraid that they're going to look at you differently or not love you anymore or turn their backs on you or tell you to get out.
Yeah. And it's incredibly confronting. And, you know, I grew up in a small rural town here in Australia, and like, you're right, it wasn't spoken about. Like if someone was referred to in that, then it was a derogatory term. And I'd often been called like butch, or, you know, you must be a leso or something like that as a kid. And I was like, or, you know, a young adult. And I was like, I'm going to prove that I'm absolutely everything not what you're saying I am. And I'm never going to have. So I actively went and got the things that they said that I would never have. And it's when you have to sit down with somebody, go, so I think I'm gay, like that's scary. And then most of the time I had literally two people who were weird about it, who I now moved to outer circles of friends, still love them, still care about them, but don't need to include them in the circle, where one friend was like, oh, right. And one was like, oh, that's awkward, isn't it? And I was like, not for me. But, you know, one of the most powerful things that happened to me on this journey was my business coaches at the time. I got on a call with them one morning and I said, oh, you know, oh, this is what's happening. And I think I'm gay. And they're like, oh, yeah, cool. We all cried. It was all good. Then the next week, one of them said to me, because they're like, thanks for coming. We've been waiting for you. And then the next week he said to me, I need you to say something before we end the call. I said, yeah, what's that? And he goes, I need you to tell me that you're gay. And I went, yeah, last week I did, bro. We cried. It was all, you know, it was wonderful. And he goes, no. You said, I think I need you to own this. And the second he did that, I was like, right. And from then I just started having conversations with people and saying, this is the thing, but every time you have that conversation, you're like, is this going to be the time it turns to mush?
Yeah. And we build the story up a lot of times too in our head, but rightfully so, understandably so. I know when I came out, I had to have the conversation with my close family, and I was dreading telling my grandmother, who absolutely thought that I was like, you know, the best thing since sliced bread. She just would fawn over me. And I was so scared to tell her because she's my grandmother. She's the oldest of the, you know, of the tribe. And I remember I told her, and she just looked at me and she goes, you're still my cricket, right? And I go, yes, I'm still your little cricket. And she goes, okay, this is no problem. This is a woman, they went through World War, you know, Vietnam, World War II, the Depression. She's like, is this the worst news you're going to bring me? This is great. And then I had to tell my dad, who was like hardcore Republican and a very, very rough guy. And I thought, he's just going to lose. I'm gone. I'm out of his life forever. And I told him, and he goes, Christine, I knew you were way back when.
It seems like everybody knows before we actually figure it out. And they're like, I had so many people either go, duh, or yeah, I could have told you that a long time ago, or like, cool. Are you happy? Are you safe? Are you, yes? Okay, great. So what are we having for lunch? End of the story.
He'd tell me, he said, you had that big Farrah Fawcett poster over your bed. I said, didn't everyone? In the bathing suit with the little Mexican blanket in the back? Didn't everyone have the Farrah Fawcett poster? I didn't know. Right?
Tell me you're gay without telling me you're gay.
Oh. And my mom was the one who I thought would not have a problem with it, and she was because she was worried. She's like, who's going to take care of you? She wanted me to marry a male, you know, a doctor or an attorney or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to take care of me. I don't need to marry somebody, just a man, just to take care of me. But that was her generation, right?
Yeah.
So we also have to think about the people that we do tell their worldview and the way that they have been brought up as well. just to take that into consideration. But
yeah, I think that compassion and grace goes both ways. We need to give ourselves compassion and grace for our journey, but also just because somebody doesn't initially, want to throw us a pride party doesn't mean that they're not that they're not our people, and we need to just cut them dead because we didn't get the response we wanted. It's like, understand their life journey, and sometimes, like, I've had more time to process this than they have, so let's just give them some time and then continue talking. We don't have to just go, you didn't throw me a party, bye.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's give our listeners, and for those that are what we have, the podcast is also available on YouTube, so you can actually see my wonderful guest Lisa Kirkman, who is the creator of the Big Gay Overalls podcast and the Big Gay Overalls TikTok channel. So we'll have a link to her TikTok channel. We'll have also a link to her podcast as well, and you can check that out. But let's just give you a little bit of a treat and listen to and watch. If those are on YouTube, you can actually see it. One of the TikTok videos that I thought would be appropriate for the show. Hold on.
The vision I had of myself was this horrible, flawed, defective, broken human being. And I'm like, if people see that, they're not going to want to be my friends. They won't want to have any form of relationship with me, whether it be family or friendships. My business will fail. No one will want to do business with me. People will wonder how I even deserve to exist on the planet. But then you think, I've made choices, and this is just, you've got responsibilities, you've made commitments, this is what you're supposed to live up to. And if I think about the analogy of the closet, for me, it wasn't just small dark room, cupboard, that sort of thing. It was a whole elaborate prison that I had created for myself with perfectionism and people pleasing and this deep-seated fear of rejection. Like, when I really dig into it, there was a lot of that fear of rejection.
So your journey so far in TikTok has been good, has been positive. But let's talk about the trolls. Do you have any? And have you made use of them?
Actually, to be honest, I haven't had any yet, but I keep waiting.
Okay.
I keep waiting. I shared a clip the other day from the podcast when my wife and I were talking about stigma about, periods and the shame and stuff as kids, what you're told. And one of my friends jumped on and did a comment saying that, what her experience was with that. And someone else has got on and just completely devalued what she said, or, so, well, this is her lived experience. Don't, and I was like, oh, I've not had anything
controversial.
I know. And my friend is very forward, and I was like, oh, you picked the wrong person to target there, girlfriend.
But go at it, because it helps the algorithm.
Yeah. And my friend actually texts me and she goes, you can thank me for your engagement later, because they sort of went back and forth. And I was like, thanks, love. But
thank you.
I haven't, every time I post something, I'm like, or I boost a post, I'm like, is this the time that and I'm going to get some, because I've seen some horrible stuff, but I've been going at this now for about 3 months and I'm yet to have anything pop up. Touch wood. I know it won't last forever, but I'm interested in what you said there about how have you made use of them?
When I say that is because, there's a couple different things you can do. And this is what when I'm coaching my clients and getting them on TikTok, and I'll say, if you get a rude comment, now it depends on the level of the rude, right? If it's absolutely, or if it's violent, delete it, right?
Yeah.
Block that person. But I said, if it's something that in which when they speak or they write, it is funny because it is so bad, right? Or if they say something that really sparks a response in you, you can do one of two things. So you can, of course, hit reply and comment, write out your comment, text or type it out, and everybody can see it. But I really like doing replies with video.
Yes.
Because you replying to that comment with an actual video, and their comment is embedded in your video, on your TikTok video. So everybody can see the fool, right? Yeah. So you can say Chad 5372000X.
And I love that idea. I've seen that done. And to be honest, I haven't played around with that, but I have seen people do that. And I find that they're usually quite relatable. It's putting light on the bully, I guess, which
It's putting light on the bully.
takes away the power.
And a lot of times those reply videos get more engagement and more hits than the original one.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, if you do, and again, you weigh it out. You go, go away. Nobody's listening to you, or I gotta respond to this one.
And it's how you look at it. And I guess that's where I've been nervous and apprehensive, whereas, that's a different way to reframe it. So that's cool.
There you go. You're welcome. Lisa, it's just been fabulous having you on the show. And I'm one of your many followers now. And I want to encourage our wonderful listeners to this podcast and also viewers on YouTube to definitely check you out, follow you, if you like something too, don't be afraid to hit that little heart, like it, comment on the different posts that Lisa puts out there, and also check out our podcast as well. We'll have links to all of that in the show notes, so you don't have to look too far. But thank you again for being with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. And the pleasure's been all mine. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, and I love your content and your podcasts and what you're putting out there. It's always good food for thought, and sometimes just downright entertaining.
I'm going to use that soundbite. Just
You're
downright
welcome.
Entertaining. Thank you again. Thank you.
No
again.
worries. Thank you.
And thank you, wonderful listeners and viewers. Again, this has been the TikTok influencers you really should know about. If you want more information about my coaching business, you can go to christineblosdale.com. Check it out. There's all this information about the show. All right. Until next time, happy scrolling, everybody. Happy scrolling on TikTok. Bye-bye.